The Donut King was using creative financing techniques such as seller financing or the sellers carrying the note in the 70s to build his donut empire, starting with $1,000 per month of recurring revenue where he wasn't doing anything, all the way up until $100,000 a month from all of the donut shops that he expanded to. Let me show you how he did it. So at one point, he bought another donut shop. So now he is operating two donut shops all by himself, right? So he's reached his bandwidth, he's reached his capacity, he realized that he reached his max earning potential. And I'll read to you this little excerpt. In the great American tradition, I decided the only way that we would improve our quality of life was to expand. Now that I had a grasp on the donut business, I thought it would theoretically be possible to acquire more shops and train employees to do the hard work. In truth, I had no idea if this would be a profitable model. So what he realizes, he's reached his capacity, and now the only way for him to uh, build from there is to get another donut shop, put somebody in that shop, and then he would step out. So he'd be more of an advising role. So you see, like, he's just kind of putting together this strategy that's used to this day with acquisitions and small businesses. Okay. So he kept his eye open for mom and pop donut shops because these franchises came with all these franchise rules. What he wanted were these old mom and pop donut shops. He would go in, he would negotiate a seller financing deal or the seller carrying the note. It could be said either way. And it's where the sellers are now acting as the bank. So instead of getting a bank loan and paying the sellers that lump sum and it being that amount of money and then that's it, and maybe they take a tax hit, instead he would convince the sellers to act as the bank. And so monthly, he would pay the sellers just as he would pay a bank. And if they defaulted on their payments, then the sellers could take back the donut shop, just as the bank would take back the donut shop if the bank was being used. So through his creative financing, explaining this to the sellers, he began to start taking over all of these mom and pop donut shops. And what he would do is he would go in, understand the operations of that specific location, get it handled, and then he would bring somebody else in and they would operate it. They would take most of the income and then he would just take a certain percentage every month. And so it would be one donut shop with $1,000. He would start stacking these donut shops and just gathering all of this income from purely advising. So he would start the donut shop, put somebody in there, and then just kind of become an advisor, and he would run itself. And so he went from $1,000 with the first scenario that he did all the way up to he's making 25, 30,000 a month, and then at one point 100,000 a month. And this is in the 70s that he was doing this. So far ahead of his time with the way that he was able to construct his empire. Each shop, the biggest thing is he would add value, right? So he didn't change the name. There wasn't a whole lot of things that he changed, but two main things is one, he would bake fresh batches throughout the day. So smaller batches, but bake more of them throughout the day because that smell became its own marketing tactic, right? People would be walking by and they'd smell the fresh donuts and they'd come right in. So that was the first thing. And then taking what he learned from Winchell's, because he worked for Winchell's for a while, that was how he got his feet wet in the business, is he used top quality ingredients. So the donuts tasted better. So small batches baked throughout the day, donuts tasted better with higher quality ingredients. And that was really it. He kept the culture of the donut shop the same. He kept the name the same. And so minimal value add, but bringing in what he knew how to do. And that was to run a really well-run operation, okay? So he did all that, and there's another note in here that I want to read is, there's an important lesson here for anyone who hopes to become successful in business. Sometimes the greatest opportunities are hiding behind unattractive masks. And so he goes on to say that people overlooked donut shops. And as he became more successful, people are saying, hey, take that business knowledge that you have and go somewhere else, do something else, do another industry, right? Focus on something that's better than a donut shop. But he understood the value of what he had. The unattractive mask to most people, he understood this business, and he says that donuts are high margin products. Even though a single unit costs less than $1, a good portion of the dollar is profit. So He understood that, most people didn't. And then the margins on the coffee are even better. And so he was in a very niche, underappreciated business, and he truly became the donut king in there. And I'll leave you with this. How many others saw those ads in the register and scoffed? I can't say everything was planned from the start, like any entrepreneur. I was making a lot of it up as I went along, but I am proud to say that I was humble enough to look at an ad for a donut shop and see opportunity, self sufficiency, and a better life for my family. So, Ted Noy, the Donut King, he saw opportunity and he jumped on it. And not even totally knowing how to do this, he understood what creative financing was like enough that he could negotiate these terms and one by one take down these shops and add value where he saw fit. Truly, truly the Donut King.